They said Cropsey was just a story, a name passed between trembling lips at sleepovers and around dying campfires, a monster that lurked in the forgotten woods of Staten Island, dragging children into the darkness and never bringing them back. But the truth was that Cropsey wasn't born from imagination. He was born from something much darker, something human, something that lived and breathed among them, hidden in plain sight, fed by neglect, cruelty, and the silence of those who looked away. In the 1970s, Staten Island looked like a peaceful corner of New York, a quiet suburb where families built homes and kids rode bikes through long stretches of trees. Yet beneath that calm exterior lay a decaying secret, an abandoned place that the locals spoke of only in hushed tones. The Willowbrook State School, a massive institution hidden deep in the woods, surrounded by fences and shadows. Built to house children with disabilities, but known instead for its unspeakable horrors. Inside Willowbrook, walls reeked of filth, hallways echoed with cries, and children lay neglected on the floors, their bodies covered in sores, their eyes blank with hopelessness, while rats crawled freely across their fragile limbs, and the staff, overworked, indifferent, or broken, moved through the chaos as if cruelty was just another duty on the list, as if the suffering inside those walls was something ordinary. Journalist Geraldo Rivera exposed it in 1972 when he broke into Willowbrook with a camera, capturing the horror that the world had chosen to ignore, showing children locked away in darkness, naked, shivering, malnourished, and forgotten, turning what was meant to be a place of care into a chamber of living nightmares. And when his footage aired, the world recoiled, but for Staten Island. The damage had already been done. Evil had already taken root. Even after Willowbrook closed, its shadow lingered, and the land around it became a breeding ground for urban legends, ghost stories, and whispers of something that still walked the woods, something that had grown from the despair left behind. And parents began warning their children, "Don't go near Willowbrook, or Cropsey will get you." But then, children actually started disappearing. Between 1972 and 1987, 5 children vanished from Staten Island. Little faces that once smiled on family porches were suddenly gone without a trace. Their names whispered through the town like prayers for the lost. Alice Pereira, Holly and Hughes, Tyahese Jackson, Henry Gafforio, and Jennifer Schweiger, a 12-year-old girl with Down syndrome, who would become the key to uncovering the dark truth behind the legend. Police and volunteers searched every corner of the island, combing through abandoned tunnels, empty lots, and the decaying ruins of Willowbrook. But each path seemed to lead back to the same terrifying question. Was Cropsey real, or had someone decided to become him? And that's when the name Andre Rand emerged, a man who once worked as an orderly at Willowbrook, a drifter who camped in the woods after the school shut down, scavenging from garbage, talking to no one, his eyes empty but alive with something twisted, something hungry, a man who seemed to have stepped straight out of the nightmares parents had invented to scare their children. Rand was already known to the police, arrested years earlier for attempting to abduct children, for living near abandoned buildings where the missing were last seen, and yet he always slipped through the cracks of the system, like a ghost that refused to be caught, always vanishing before anyone could pin the darkness on him. When Jennifer Schweiger disappeared in 1987, hope turned into hysteria. Hundreds of volunteers marched into the woods, desperate to find her, digging through the dirt and ruins, led by faith and fear, until after 35 endless days, a volunteer made a discovery that froze the entire island. The small, decomposing body of Jennifer was found buried in a shallow grave, just yards away from the ruins of Willowbrook, her innocence stolen, her story forever tied to the monster who now had a face. Andre Rand was arrested soon after, found living in a filthy campsite hidden among the trees, surrounded by trash, blankets, and toys, a man who had become one with the wasteland he haunted. And when they looked into his past, what they found blurred the line between legend and reality. Rand had been there near every disappearance, seen talking to some of the missing children, always wandering near schools, playgrounds, or bus stops, like a shadow that moved just out of reach. He was convicted of kidnapping Jennifer Schweiger, though her murder was never proven and later linked to other cases. Yet despite the convictions, despite the evidence, the question lingered. How many children were really taken? How many vanished into those woods without a name or a face to remember them by? And how much of Cropsey was him? And how much was something older? Something that had been waiting in those dark trees long before Andre Rand ever existed. Locals began to speak of Rand as the embodiment of Cropsey, the monster made flesh, the story that had become real, the horror that had crawled out from under the bed and into the world. Yet the most unsettling truth was that Willowbrook itself had created him, a place where humanity rotted, where neglect turned to madness, and where pain bred something unholy. Some said Rand was just a man, a predator who used the legend as his camouflage, while others believed he was possessed by the darkness that Willowbrook left behind, a vessel for all the forgotten screams that once filled those halls, a walking echo of everything Staten Island had buried but never faced. After his conviction, the legend didn't die. It grew stronger, evolving with every retelling, as kids dared each other to visit the ruins at night, to walk the crumbling tunnels where Rand was said to have hidden his victims, and even adults, who had once dismissed Cropsey as a myth, began to feel uneasy, sensing that something still lingered in those woods, something that wasn't ready to rest. The filmmakers who later made the Cropsey documentary went back to Staten Island to uncover the truth, to separate fact from folklore, but what they found was a chilling overlap. The urban legend and the true crime case feeding off each other like parasites, both too real, too tragic, and too haunting to dismiss. Because Cropsey was not just a story, he was the reflection of society's neglect. The monster that grows when people stop caring, when the weak are abandoned, and when horror hides behind bureaucracy and silence. In the end, Cropsey became more than a man or a myth. He became a warning, a reminder that monsters are not born from the darkness. They are made in it, shaped by cruelty, ignorance, and the cold indifference of those who look away. And though Willowbrook's gates are sealed now, though the buildings crumble into dust, the screams, the fear, and the legends still echo through the trees, whispering the same question that chills the soul of every child who grows up on Staten Island. Was Cropsey ever really gone? Or is he still out there, waiting, in the silence beyond the last streetlight, watching, patient, hungry, waiting for the next child who doesn't listen to the warning, the next one who wanders too far into the woods, where the line between man and monster disappears forever?